Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Lam here. In today's Fuji Friday, we definitely have some interesting things to discuss. Let's go ahead and get started. It looks like we're seeing the first rumors come out for the X-Pro3, and a lot of it we kind of already knew. It's going to inherit the same sensor and the same processor as the X-T3, which makes a lot of sense, so there's really nothing new there. It is going to have some great video capabilities, even though the camera is really designed more for the photographer in mind. But if you want to be a hybrid shooter, this is still going to be a very capable camera for you. The interesting thing here, and this rumor, I hope it's actually true, is that it's going to have IBIS built in, which means it's going to be the second camera in the Fuji system to have in-body stabilization. That's going to be really great news for photographers who really love to use those prime lenses, because it really does extend the range on what you can do with those prime lenses. So I really hope that's true, because the IBIS technology inside the XH1 really is great, and when you combine it with the current generation of sensor and processor technology, it really does make a winning combo. So hopefully we will continue to see rumors on that camera as we get closer to the announcement date. The second news bit that I want to talk about is Viltrox is going to be releasing more fast primes. So the 1.4 primes, they're going to be releasing a 23, 33, and 56, basically the essential focal lengths that you would want when you're collecting a primes collection. And if Viltrox carries on with its affordable pricing, this is definitely going to be a great range of lenses that you can get for a really great price. Now, most likely Viltrox is going to be producing these for the full frame market as well, so they're most likely going to be larger and heavier than the Fujifilm equivalent, but they're going to come at an affordable price. At least that's what I hope anyways. Now, if this does come to pass, what you're essentially seeing is that the Fujifilm market is starting to really mature. We're starting to grow a user base that really wants these affordable primes, and of course the market is going to respond to that. Viltrox will most likely see really good sales on this. I know on the B&H website the 85mm has sold out, so they're definitely selling in the US, so that's really good news. So the big question here is, how is Fujifilm going to react, because they get a lot of sales from their lens department, and now with competition coming in, and they're coming in at a very affordable price point, this is definitely going to take away from their market share. So how is Fujifilm going to be able to react? Are they going to be able to take the financial loss, or can the potential increase in camera sales offset the losses to the lens sales because of third-party lenses? So that's something that we're really going to have to see going forward, and hopefully what this is showing is that the Fujifilm community as a user base is growing, so that it can actually support third-party brands and Fujifilm at the same time. At least that's my hope, but we really don't know that until we see the financials from Fujifilm again. So that is definitely something that bears watching. If you have any predictions, please leave it in the comments below. I would love to hear your opinions on that. The last news bit that I want to talk about is the Android update to the Remote Camera App, which is going to version 4. So it's basically catching up to the iPhone version finally. In my opinions of the Remote Camera App remains the same, which is it's barely a functional smartphone app. And in today's video, I'll show you an example why I think that. And I'm also going to go into a little bit of tangent on the possibility of Fujifilm getting more competition here in the future. So the first thing that I want to show you is the DJI OSMO Action. This is the camera that I just recently got because I was testing it out. As many of you know, if you've been watching this channel, anytime you get a generation 1 camera, you're basically a beta user. For me, I bought this camera knowing that I would be beta user because I wanted to see how far DJI has come creating these cameras, and I think this thing is actually pretty amazing, but we'll get into that in a little bit. The thing that I want to show you is this Gen 1 camera. I'm going to turn it on, and I want to show you the Remote Camera App for this camera. So I turn this on, turn on the DJI Remote app. Up here there's a button that you can push, and then you can go ahead and connect it to your action cam, and now we're actually connected to the Remote Camera App, and I can actually show you the camera that I'm using right now. The reason why my smartphone is orange is because I have it set to night mode, so that's why everything's so orange on my smartphone. But as you can see, I can move my small little action cam around, and there is no perceivable lag, or very minimal lag, as I move this camera around looking at my XH1 over here. So we're getting perfect feed from this camera. So what's really impressive here is this is a Gen 1 camera. This is most likely a Gen 2 smartphone app, but it's full featured, as in I can control everything about this action cam from the smartphone. And this is, as I said, a Gen 1 camera. Over on the Fujifilm side, we have a Gen 3 camera talking to a Gen 4 smartphone app and it barely works. So that's the reason why I'm really critical of the Fuji camera app. It's because a $350 camera has a better smartphone app that I can use remotely than a $1,000 camera. Now, having said all of that and just showing you a very quick representation of what DJI is doing, what I also foresee in the future is DJI actually making a mirrorless camera for consumers. Now, you may think DJI doesn't have any experience making mirrorless cameras. That's actually not true. They've been making mirrorless cameras for 2 to 3 years now, but instead of making those expensive mirrorless cameras for us to use, what they have been doing is that they've actually been sticking those mirrorless cameras on $5,000 professional cinema drones. So in terms of mirrorless camera technology, DJI is actually very advanced. They use micro four thirds lenses. They produce really well. If you've been watching any movies or TV, you most likely have seen that camera in use in one of your television series or one of those movies. DJI drones are all over the place. I see them used all the time in news companies. So if you think DJI isn't competition for the mirrorless camera market, they've come into the action phone market, and their Gen 1 camera is competing really well against a Gen 7 GoPro. So GoPro has been making action cams forever, and their 7th generation action cam, they're all right here in this action cam, and this is a Gen 1 action cam. So that's something that you have to realize, is that DJI, in terms of it being a camera company, is actually very advanced, and they have a lot of great technology. It doesn't take a whole lot for them to decide to take one of their mirrorless technologies and then put it in a body that we can use as consumers. Now, you may think DJI entering into the crop sensor market or the mirrorless micro four thirds market to be a little bit silly, but to be honest with you, I never thought they would actually make an action cam because that market is also very crowded. But what I saw during the release of this action cam was their rabid user base really promoting this, and they have a huge following on YouTube to actually promote their products. But what's really interesting here is that after testing this action cam out, it is legitimately a very good action cam that you can really use for your B-roll camera. The slow motion that I'm getting out of this, the time lapse that I'm getting out of this are definitely very useful. This has been a really great experiment, and DJI moving into the consumer mirrorless market, it's really not that far of a stretch. And if they actually do that, think about the range of products that they could have that no other camera company can have. They already sell drones with their cameras. They already sell gimbals. They now have an action cam. If they sell a consumer mirrorless camera, they now have an ecosystem that's unrivaled and untouchable. I personally would actually buy into that ecosystem because if you think about it, it makes my workflow so much easier because now I get the same color science for my drones, for my action cam, and now for my handheld mirrorless cameras. I can have a significantly easier flow when it comes to color science. I also know that they have great smartphone apps that I can use remotely, and they can actually be collaboratively shared together. So I'm going to have amazing user interfaces that I can use, and plus it's going to be well supported, and they have a rabid user base, which means the resale value on all of this equipment is actually pretty good. When people ask me for suggestions on what type of drones that they should get, I always tell them that they should get DJI drones. And it's not because they make the best drones, because there are a lot of good competitive drones out there. The reason why I suggest that to them is that when they get bored with their drone, they can actually sell it off and still make some of that money back. With the other drone manufacturer companies, once they buy that and they try to go sell it off, they have a very tough time of selling off drones from other brands. Whereas DJI drones, they hold their value very well, and there's also a trade-in program if you want to use it on the DJI website. So there's significant value in going with DJI. Plus their customer service. I've been a user of their drones for quite a while now, and they are continuing to improve upon their customer service to the point where it's pretty good. I wouldn't call them professional grade just yet, but they're definitely getting there. And the second that they decide to go into the professional mirrorless market or the consumer mirrorless market, I guarantee you they're going to ramp that up, and they can ramp that up pretty quickly. So going all the way back to what we were talking about before, which is the Fujifilm's Remote Camera App, and why I'm so harsh about it, it's because I can see the competition coming. It really is an interesting time to be a content creator because the tools that we're getting are going to get better, and they're going to get more affordable, and there's going to be a lot more companies that are going to come into this market and really challenge the established companies that have been in this market for a very long time, and they're going to bring a lot of new ideas and a lot of new technology with them. So as a technologist, I'm definitely looking forward to that. I can probably talk for hours on this particular subject, but I'm going to go ahead and cut it off right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.